Everyone already knows this, and I don't think there's even a bit debate about it anymore. Dexter Season 8 is pure garbage, not just bad in the way some TV seasons can be disappointing, but truly one of the worst examples of how to end a long-running beloved series. This isn't just a weak final season, this is one of the worst final seasons of all time, and the fact that it's attached to a show as beloved and groundbreaking as Dexter makes it all the more painful. It is, without exaggeration, one of the most disappointing things I've ever experienced in television. Going into this season, there was still hope. Season 7 was actually pretty strong. It had great tension and compelling villain in Isaac Serco, Deb finding out about Dexter's secret, and some of the most emotional character-driven drama in the entire series. So I thought, okay, maybe they can stick the landing. Maybe they'll actually deliver a finale worthy of all the years we've spent with these characters.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
But instead we got this disaster. Let's start with the synopsis, because the story in Season 8 is a tangled mess. Dexter is trying to juggle his life as a father, his relationship with Hannah, and his role as a serial killer while a new villain, the brain surgeon, terrorizes Miami. At the same time, a new character named Dr. Evelyn Vocal enters the picture, claiming to know all about Harry's code and even saying she was the one who helped create it. Debbie is spiraling emotionally after killing LaGuardia, and she is struggling to find a way to reconcile with Dexter. Anna is back in the picture even though she's wanted worldwide, and we're somehow supposed to root for her in Dexter's love story. Batista is promoted to captain but contributes basically nothing. Quinn floats around with no purpose. Masuka only has a dollar supply that goes nowhere. Harrison ages like 5 years despite only 6 months supposedly passing since Season 7, and all of this is leading up to an ending that has become infamous. Dexter fakes his death in a laughably bad CGI hurricane, kills off Deb in the most insulting way imaginable, abandons his son, and becomes a lumberjack. Yeah, that's the ending they went with.
I'm a lumberjack and
What the hell is even that?
But usually in a review, I'd try to start with the positives before digging into the negatives, but honestly there are no real positives. None. If I'm being generous, I'd say the only slight glimmer of quality comes from Jennifer Carpenter's performance as Deb. She gives everything she has to the role. You can feel her pain, her confusion, her anger, her heartbreak. She acts her ass off. But here's the problem. The writing is so bad that her performance ends up being wasted. It doesn't matter how hard she tries when the scripts she's working with are this atrocious. So while I admire her commitment, it doesn't save the season, and that's it. That's all the positivity I can muster. Now let's talk about the negatives, because holy crap, there's a mountain of them. First up, the villain, the brain surgeon. What an absolute joke. He is hands down the worst major antagonist of the series. There's no personality, no intrigue, and no menace. He's bland, forgettable, and honestly feels like a first draft idea that never got fleshed out. This is the final season of Dexter, the last villain Dexter Morgan would ever face, and this is what they gave us. Compare him to Trinity or even lesser villains like Jordan Chase or Miguel Prado. At least those characters had something going for them. Brain Surgeon is nothing. Garbage. It doesn't feel like a threat. It doesn't feel like a foil to Dexter. It doesn't feel like anything other than a placeholder. I've started calling him the Garbage Surgeon because that's exactly what he is. Then we have the storyline with Deb trying to kill Dexter and immediately reversing the decision to save him. This is one of the most baffling pieces of writing I've ever seen. The whole point of Season 7 was Deb discovering who Dexter really is, the toll it takes on her, and the moral lines she's forced to cross. That should have been carried into Season 8 in a meaningful way. Instead, the writers throw in this ridiculous plotline where she tries to murder him and then does a complete 180 because, oh, he's my brother. It's lazy, it's contrived, and it destroys all the emotional progress from the previous season. And then we get to the ending. Oh boy, the ending. This might be the worst series finale I've ever seen. Dexter sails into a cartoonish CGI thunderstorm, fakes his death, and then abandons Hannah and Harrison to live in exile as a lumberjack. What? That's the ending to one of television's most iconic anti-heroes. It's not bold, it's not shocking, not even tragic, it's just dumb. It feels like the writers had no idea what to do, so they just threw something together last minute. For years, this was the image that fans had to live with as the conclusion to Dexter's story, and I honestly don't blame anyone who gave up on the show after this. Deborah's death is another unforgivable sin. Deb was the heart of Dexter. She's arguably more important than Dexter himself, and the way they kill her off is so unbelievably insulting. She gets shot, ends up in a coma thanks to the garbage surgeon, and then dies off screen. Off screen! One of the most important characters in the entire series gets written out in the laziest, most anticlimactic way possible. And then Dexter dumps her body in the ocean like any of his other victims. That moment could have been powerful, but the build-up is so rushed and so poorly written that it lands with a thud. Jennifer Carpenter gives her all in these final episodes, but it doesn't matter when the material is this bad. And speaking of terrible writing decisions, let's talk about Dr. Vogel. What the hell was that? By the end of episode 1, we learned that she knows all about Dexter and Harry's code. And not only that, but she actually helped create it. Why? Why would you retcon one of the most important foundations of the entire series? That code was compelling because it came from Harry's desperation, his flawed but deeply personal way of trying to give Dexter some kind of direction. Now we're told some random psychiatric designed it? That's not clever, that's not interesting, that's insulting. It undermines years of storytelling and makes the early seasons worse in retrospect. The Miami Metro characters are completely useless this season. Batista gets promoted to captain but doesn't contribute anything meaningful. Quinn is basically a ghost, floating in and out of scenes without purpose. Masuka randomly discovers he has a daughter, which could have been interesting, but the subplot goes absolutely nowhere. These characters who once added flavor and subplots to the show are reduced to filler. It feels like the writers had no idea what to do with them anymore, so they just threw in scraps of storylines that don't matter. And then there's Harrison. Somehow he's aged like 4 years despite only 6 months supposedly passing since season 7. It's laughable. Don't get me even started on the treadmill scene where it hurt his chin. It's supposed to be dramatic, but it comes off as pure comedy. I was laughing, not crying. The subplot with Zack, the young killer Dexter tries to mentor, is another massive waste of time. They build this character up, make it seem like Dexter is going to pass on his code, and then kill him off after a few episodes. No payoff, no impact, nothing. Just another example of the writers throwing away potential. Hannah is another disaster. I actually liked her in season 7. She added an interesting dynamic, and her relationship with Dexter was compelling in its own twisted way. But here she's terrible. The entire world is supposedly hunting her down, yet she walks around without disguise, acting like she doesn't have a care in the world. It's absurd. It makes no sense. It makes her character look dumb, and it makes the show look even dumber for expecting us to buy into it. At the end of the day, season 8 of Dexter is not just bad, it's a complete betrayal of the series and the fans who stuck with it for 8 years. The writing is atrocious, the characters are ruined, the pacing is sloppy, the storylines go nowhere, and the ending is one of the worst in television history. For me, this is an easy 1 out of 10. No question, it's not just disappointing, it's insulting. So that's my take on Dexter season 8. I despise this season with every fiber of my being, but now I want to hear what you think. Do you agree with me that this is one of the worst finales ever made? Do you think the writers completely destroyed Dexter's legacy with this garbage, or do you somehow find redeeming qualities that I missed? Drop your thoughts, theories, and frustrations in the comments. I'd love to hear how you experienced this train wreck. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye, and thank God for new blood and resurrection for giving us something better than this disaster.